Hello, good morning. I'm Matt Addison. David Lynch is with me this morning to take a look at a second successive win for Liverpool after they beat West Ham United last night. If you've got any comments and questions, do as ever stick them in the comment section as we go along, and we'll just go through a few topics really from the game. I suppose we should start with a couple of the main men. Darwin Nunez with the goal, Alisson Becker with a penalty save. Let's do Nunez first. It was another chaotic performance from him, but he does end up being the match winner.
Yeah, I think chaotic is a perfect word for him, really. Sort of, it doesn't always look, fantastic at times, does it? The way he plays football, but I think he's always constantly involved and he's always a threat. Not always sure he knows what he's going to do, but the fact he just consistently gets shots away just proves that he's going to be a massive threat for Liverpool. And I thought, his overall game yesterday just sort of summed that up. A brilliant header. That is a really, really good finish. Not an easy one by any means. A great header, really good technique down into the ground, beats the keeper, and then obviously the one he cannons off the upright is again a brilliant piece of technique. It just shows that if you get him in positions to score goals, then those goals will follow. And I think he's got a few already for Liverpool, and people are talking about it like it's been a bit of a disappointing start, which just shows you that there's even more to come from him, and it's really exciting. He seems like the sort of player that you can very easily imagine will score goals in bundles for Liverpool and get 2s or 3s in games, because he's just constantly involved and he he's constantly, he's got the strength and the quality to get defenders out of the way, get himself a yard, and that combination of pace and strength he's got, and to be able to finish on both feet and with your head is really handy for a centre forward. So and I think yesterday will be big for him in terms of his confidence as well, because I think with Jota and Diaz being out until after the World Cup now, that any chance he's got for an adaptation period or being slowly eased in, that's over now. Liverpool need him to start delivering now, and to get the only goal in a 1-0 win is not a bad start for that.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, actually. You mentioned there the left-footed shots. Josh Williams is going to do a piece for us today around that. And kind of, it is something that Liverpool seem to look for when you think of their forward options. Obviously, Mohamed Salah is very left-footed, but you'd look at Nunez, Diogo Jota, very much left foot, right foot, head, doesn't really matter to him. It does seem to be something that they look for, and that was certainly something that was evident. I mean, we had the comment on screen there that said Torres and Suarez vibes. I mean, there's a long way to go to reach their level, but that sort of shot with his left foot on the sort of volley, that was a bit kind of like Torres against Blackburn, wasn't it? There was a couple of moments like that we've seen from him already, where he's obviously not quite acclimatized to playing for Liverpool yet, but to take on a shot like that from that kind of angle, he's obviously got some confidence in his own finishing ability.
Yeah, I think the Torres comparison in particular it sort of fits in with me. I think Suarez probably had a little bit more quality in the build-up, let's say it like that. I think he's whereas Torres, it's easily forgotten, but he could look a little bit ungainly at times. But when you got him in on goal, he was absolutely deadly. I think I really like that comparison in the Blackburn goal. In fact, I can't remember which game it was already this season, but he almost scored one very similar to that already this season at one point.
Everton?
Possibly, yeah, and he lets it come over. Yeah, it is Everton, actually, yeah. He lets it come over his shoulder and tries the shot into the far corner, and really good save from Pickford it was, actually, to keep him out for that one. So I think that's what he's gonna be like, really, is sort of look a little bit uncomfortable in deep areas at times. But if you get him in the box or you get him a yard in a dangerous position like that, he's just so good at getting a high quality shot off that's going to test the keeper, and and as he gets more confidence, probably pick out the corners a little bit more. I think you saw some of his finishes for Benfica at Anfield. One that was disallowed for offside was particularly, really high quality, just a really deft finish. So, it shows he's got all that in his locker. I think that, the interesting thing is for Liverpool, it's going to be a bit of an adaptation process for them as much as for the player, because he's very different to what they've had. I noticed last night there was a moment where he got released and he was one-on-one with the defender. And whereas if that was Sadio Mane, you're probably expecting to have a better chance of probably beating his man in that position, where that's probably not Nunez's game. He wants to be in behind. He wants to beat that last man with pace rather than sort of taking him on with skill. And that's absolutely fine, just a different sort of play. But I think Liverpool are going to have to get slightly used to that, having more of a Fernando Torres type up front than what they've had in the past. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that adaptation process works. And I think it's it all points to the fact that, that system can work. We know a player of that, who has those qualities can work for Liverpool, and be exciting to see how it develops from here.
Yeah, still a lot of development to do. I think the relationships with a few of his teammates still has to come, but certainly some good signs. Like you say, he has scored a few goals now already for Liverpool, so I'm sure that will only help his confidence. But let's go to the other end of the pitch then. Alisson Becker as well, another match winner for Liverpool, a really good penalty save. He actually started the game quite strangely, giving the ball away a few times, but in the end, another really important sort of contribution from him.
Yeah, that combination with Declan Rice early doors looked quite deadly. Thankfully, put that behind him. I it was interesting really because I spoke to Andy Robertson after the Manchester City game in the mix zone, and he was talking about Alisson Becker and said, he's the best goalkeeper in the world, and the reason he was talking about that was because of the assist for Salah. And then, directly after that, you have a game where he shows he's got the totally other side of it, the goalkeeping quality as well, in terms of his shot stopping and saving penalties as well. It's funny, really, when he came to Liverpool, I never really sort of thought of him as a penalty specialist. But when Bowen put the ball down last night, his record in them now is actually quite impressive. And it gets to the point where you're thinking, he's got a really good chance of saving this one. And obviously he did. And then, not just the penalty save, but the one from Souček late on where, he gets a big hand from Milner as well. That's a quality challenge in the last seconds. But, it needed saving as well. And he's there to save the day. He's just for me, probably the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment. And Liverpool are very, very fortunate to have him. And you win games sometimes where you're not at your best and you need your goalkeeper to dig you out. And that was a really good example of it last night.
Yeah, I think Jurgen Klopp's spoken in the past around a good goalkeeper being sort of 10, 12 points and that kind of thing. And that was probably one of those examples, I think, last night, because as a few of the comments are saying, really, Liverpool were a little bit nervy at times defensively. I think Trent was a little bit shaky again. Joe Gomez didn't have the best of games. It wasn't quite perfect, but I suppose it's not really anything new, is it? The Manchester City game we kind of thought was going to be a little bit different to how Liverpool are going to have to play most of the time. This is probably a more accurate sort of way of looking at what Liverpool are going to have to come up against in the future. They're not going to be able to have 36% possession against most teams. They're not going to be able to sit back and counter-attack. This is going to kind of become the norm now. So what did you make of them kind of whenever West Ham attacks? I thought they were a little bit shaky at times. That was a little bit concerning, but I suppose it's better than what it has been at certain points this season.
Yeah, well, for starters, they actually stood up to that and got a clean sheet and they won. So that, makes a big difference. And I think that, it should help confidence massively that they sort of got over the line in that one, because, I think a lot of the start of the season will be in their heads a little bit. Some of the things that have gone wrong, moments where they'll feel they've been a little bit unlucky or just not performed well enough. So to get over the line in one of these games will probably really help. And that, this comment here, I think is a really good shout. I think a lot of Liverpool's problems came when they made those changes around the hour mark of 3 changes. And I think, if you look at the game in isolation, you'd probably say Klopp's subs nearly cost Liverpool the game. Unfortunately, you can't look at it in isolation, because that the reason he did that is that his hands are tied. He doesn't need any more injuries. He's trying his best to avoid that. And so he needs to bring in some element of rotation, which involves obviously, bringing in Curtis Jones, who is, hardly trained in recent weeks because of injury, and making changes like, bringing off a player as good as Thiago and as brilliantly as I thought he was absolutely brilliant again last night. So impressive. And Liverpool need him in games where they're going to dominate, where they want to pen teams in and they want to have really easy possession and can't allow, they don't want the opposition to have any chance of picking up loose balls. So, that really changed things when Thiago went off and they made that triple sub. But I think, Klopp will think ultimately, I got away with it. I didn't pick up any more injuries. I got some minutes in the legs of the likes of Jones, who's going to be an important player going forward because they're going to need him as a rotational option. So, hopefully those difficulties, they can learn from that and say, well, look, we had to make those changes, and that's not going to be a theme going forward. Because I thought largely for the first hour of the game, I thought Liverpool were really impressive. And I think if they can take that forward as the tone for, ongoing games, then that would be a positive.
Yeah, Curtis Jones is going to be an important one. Obviously, not too many options to play on that left-hand side. I thought he did okay. I think he does tend to get the Anfield crowd on his back at certain times when he holds on to it a little bit too much. But I did think he did okay. And Fabio Carvalho as well. I mean, I say playing off the left. If you look at his heat map, he was kind of all over the place, popping up in certain different pockets. But again, I thought that was a decent showing from him as well to kind of just take the ball and be brave in certain areas as much as anything else. It kind of links back to what you were saying before about needing sort of the people to hold the ball up and keep possession, as Liverpool had when they had Nunez and Salah, maybe less so later on in the game. But I thought Carvalho as well was another big positive really for Liverpool.
Yeah, just on Curtis, actually, I think that role on the left-hand side in this sort of 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1 sort of thing, I think that might suit him. He played a lot on the left-hand side, didn't he, in the youth, as you will well know, and was really dangerous there, and sort of got in a lot of finishing positions as well. So if you can do that first team level, that'd be really nice to see. And on Carvalho, yeah, I thought another impressive performance. I think he earned that start through his cameo against Manchester City, where he came on, kept possession really well. Like you say, was brave with it, took it in really difficult positions. And I think that, was a big reason why Klopp felt that he could throw him in. And I thought he just picked up where he left off, really. I thought he was a threat to West Ham all night. They couldn't get near him. Just really nice, quick feet, really intelligent. And quite a lot of his work on the defensive side of the ball was really impressive as well, which is, really great to see. It's just exciting, really, when you think of his age and you look at what they've got in Harvey Elliott on the other side as well. They've got two young players who are ready to contribute now at the age they are. You just think how good they're going to be in a few years. It's, really exciting stuff. And I thought, from Carvalho, another really impressive showing last night.
Just to finish then, obviously, Nottingham Forest at the weekend. If Liverpool can go there and win 3 wins in a week, that would be absolutely massive for their season. And, it was in some ways a little bit fortuitous that they got the 3 points last night. But as we've said, you need to kind of do that at certain points. If they can go to Forest, which on paper at least is the easiest fixture of the week for them, that would really cap off a good week, wouldn't it?
That's it. It sort of fell quite nicely for them now, but they've had a very difficult start. So, they should be having these, kind of fixtures coming up at some point. Maybe I'm underestimating what Forest will maybe do against Liverpool, but on paper at least, it does look like a kind of one. And like you say, if they can just get 3 points on the board, no matter how they manage it, and they're coming up against a side whose confidence should be rock bottom, really, given the form they're in and the start of the season they've had. Liverpool really need to sort of make the most of that, and if they can, then all of a sudden 3 wins on the bounce and things are starting to look a lot more rosy. I mean, the table's already starting to look better now, up to 7th, not too far away from the top 4. Let's get another win on board and then see where you are after that. And I think this period as well, knowing that Luis Diaz and Diogo Jota are out for a while, I think it's all about just how many points can you get on the board between now and the World Cup, and then we can have a reset. And then maybe start playing your best football after that. This is just all about getting as many wins as possible. And Nottingham Forest away is, I'm not going to say it's an easy fixture for Liverpool by any means. I'm certainly sure their fans will be 100% up for it because of the old rivalry between these teams. But I think, it's not too difficult a fixture on paper, and Liverpool really need to sort of go there and stamp their authority.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it will be a tough one, but I think it probably helps that it's a lunchtime kickoff. Probably the crowd isn't going to be quite as up for it as what they might have been had it been a little bit later in the day. But we'll talk more about that, of course, on the Blood Red podcast on Friday. But for now, we'll leave it there, I think. Thank you very much to David for joining me, and we'll catch you all later.